Hello and welcome to my review of the Dream Machines DM1 Pro S, the updated version of the Dream Machines DM1 Pro, which is, of course, a Sensei clone, which was for a long time highly anticipated because while the original Sensei, this is the raw version, has a very light shape, people were anxious for a mouse with an updated sensor because this one had the A9500, which was known for its inconsistency at different speeds. So people were hoping for an update on that for a long time, and Dream Machines is pretty much the first company that delivered that with the DM1 Pro that had the 3310 sensor. And now they've come out with the DM1 Pro S, which has the 3360 sensor. So the highest quality sensor you can get right now. It comes in this small little box with pretty much nothing except for extra mouse feet, which is a nice thing to have, and a small instruction pad in Polish and English, and that's it, nothing more. So in terms of shape, I guess if you ever had a Sensei or the Zai, which is the original design, in your hands, you know what you're getting. What I have here is the glossy version. You can also get the matte version. I like glossy for the sides more than for the top, but whatever, you can get it in matte too. And this is also a no software mouse like Zawi's, for example, or the previous Dream Machines mice, which means you can only use it in 1000 Hz and only with the preset CPI steps, which are 400 CPI, 800 CPI, 1600, 2400, 4800 and 12,000 CPI. I use it on 400, but that's up to you. It has 6 buttons, 2 on the left side, 2 main buttons, CPI switch, and the mouse wheel click. It has no buttons on the right side. I'm not exactly sure why. It's the same as on the Nixius Revel, which has the same shape, but I'll compare them later. On the original Sensei, you have also buttons on the right side. So for a left-handed user, you have thumb buttons too, and I never found them to get in the way at all. So they're pretty much disregarding the left-handed user market there. It weighs 82 grams, which is very good. It's 8 grams lighter than the Sensei Raw, and I believe even lighter than the Sensei, the original Sensei, and also lighter than the Zai. Sensor performance is as expected with the 3360 really good. On all CPI steps you get more than 6 meters per second perfect control speed, and it also has a very low liftoff distance with less than 1 CD. Unfortunately I can't measure it better, but I think that's low enough. The speed related accuracy variance is also as expected with the 3360, is rather low. I've tested it quite a bit back and forth, and in the little clip you see here the mean of it was 0.55, which is in the same ballpark as the Logitech G Pro, the latest Logitech mouse I tested, and that's very good. Compare that to, for example, the Fnatic Flick G1, the latest 3310 sensor mouse that I had tested. It had an average of 3, so now we have 0.55, and that had an average of 3 in deviation from the original starting point. So that's very good. One thing to note is that all CPI steps on my unit are pretty much spot on. 400 is really 400, 800 is 803, I think 1600 is 1590, and even the highest step, the 12,000 CPI step, is closer than any Logitech mouse that I ever had to the 12,000 CPI step. Not that the 12,000 CPI step is that important, but it's something that I noticed. The click latency is alright. It's 0.9 milliseconds slower on average than the Logitech G Pro. I think that's very acceptable. The clicks themselves feel good enough to me. I mean, they could be better because you can see there is a bit of bending before the click, but that's normal for the design. It happens with the original Sensei too. The Sensei has a bit, they sound better. As you can hear, those are louder, a bit quieter and softer, but I have no sticking or bad actuation on any of them. They work, so that's alright for me. Side buttons aren't that good, I must say, even though they have a better design than, for example, the Xeros, in that they don't have a lever that you need to that pushes down on the switch. It still has quite a bit of pre-travel until the click hits, and they don't feel so good. And that might be because they use those small rectangular Panasonic switches. I'm not sure. I'm not a fan of the side buttons anyway. The wheel itself is rather nice. It also uses a mechanical encoder, and up or down scrolling both feel the same. The click is alright. It's a blue TTC switch. The main clicks are the usual Omron, I don't know the number, but the 20 million Chinese Omron switches. The cable is braided cable and rather stiff. As you can see here, it's suspended in mid-air by itself. But I had very little problems using it. Maybe because I have it set in this thing. So the free length of it right now, as it's set up right now, glides through the air. So it doesn't touch the mouse pad. But I don't know, I'm still not a fan of braided cables, and even less of stiff braided cables. Now coming to the general build quality. It looks and it feels sturdy. My clicks were fine, as I said before, no problem with clicks for me, and that goes for all of them. So the basic functions all work, but the LED looks a bit cheap. So I think you can even see it here. You see how it shines through there, and it also has quite a bit of light bleed through the sides. It's not a big issue if you, obviously, for the performance, but you'd expect something else for a premium product. And then one thing that it has, which is really unfortunate, I didn't notice it in gameplay because I use 400 CPI and it's not as much an issue there, but the mouse had quite a bit of lens rattle. I tested it by taping down the sensor with not translucent tape, and then setting it to 12,000 CPI, holding down mouse button 1 and shaking it in mid-air, and you can see the results here. That's not how you want that to look. As I said, on 400 CPI I had no issues, it worked. I played a few rounds with it and everything was fine, but well, it shouldn't happen anyway. I tested the same thing again on the Xeros, and there the sensor is completely fixed. 12,000 CPI, there's no movement at all. And here the lens, yeah, it rattles a bit. So in conclusion, I don't need to say more about the shape. Most people know that shape already. But in my conclusion, I would really compare those two next to each other. And let's go through the pros and cons that we have here. Because the biggest pro for the DM1 Pro S that I found in using it was that it has better mouse feet, which I didn't talk about at all before, but let's do that now. They're the same size as the original Sensei mouse feet. You can see here, same size, they're quite big, and the Xeros has a bit smaller mouse feet, and I had trouble with that because it, maybe you can even hear it, I'm not sure, they scrape on my mouse pad, they drag. That was bad, and this doesn't happen here, so that was definitely something that I liked more about it. But on the downside, it has a worse cable because The Nixius has a very, very good cable, very close to Zawi cables, for example. If I had to choose between those two, right now I would either go with this one just for the mouse feet that are better, because that's really annoying for me on the Nixius. But if you use a hard pad, or if you plan to use aftermarket skates anyway, then I think the Nixius is the better choice, because it comes at a better price and delivers almost the same performance. If they fix the lens rattle issue, then it's a different thing. But yeah, that's my main point about the DM1 Pro S. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.